I audible?
I hear you.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, yeah, I'll do that. So TripAha is not just a social travel planning service. I mean, social is something that we leverage. Our goal is to solve the travel planning problem fundamentally, because we believe that travel planning space is broken. So a little background about myself, and while this loads. So I used to lead Yahoo search product relevance and monetization till September, and then I left Yahoo to start TripAha. And I think search sucks when it comes to travel planning, because search recommends you top things to do, it recommends you the big sites, and they don't deliver. You get top 10 things to do, and it's not personalized information. So you have to go back into search over and over again to find out where you want to go, what you want to do, and so forth. What we want to do is we want to invoke that model. You want to create a place where you don't have to search 22 sites. Where trip planning is as simple as you declaring to the world that, hey, I'm planning a trip to Buenos Aires, or I'm planning a trip to Barcelona. And then people who are qualified to give you recommendations, they write recommendations for you, they share their pictures, they share their itineraries with you. So in other words, if you don't know where to start your travel planning, the first thing that we believe that you should look at is, I'm going to don't allow, which most of you do. No, that was Crow. So we believe that most trip planning should start with looking at itineraries, because that gives you the trip in its entirety. And so you can use TripAha to sort of ask for travel tips. And so, for instance, if you're going to Barcelona, say, what are some good 4-day itineraries for Barcelona that include wine tasting and just bumming around? And if you notice, what we do is we have internally created clusters. We have friends of friends, locals, experts, travel writers, travel agents, and so forth. So in other words, what we believe is that answers are important, but what is more important is who is actually giving you those answers. So the source of the answer, the source of the advice, recommendation, itinerary, picture, any asset, any information asset is very important. And which is why I think Quora is very successful, because it's not just about the content, it's about who is creating that content. So on TripAha, you can get the best quality advice, but you have the control on where that advice originates from. And in future, we're also going to have a notion of similar travelers. So if you're a biker, then the system will automatically route your questions to other bikers. Then you say share it, and you can share this on Facebook, and the production API is down. So. Pleasure of doing live demos. Let's see. Dude, the API is down. Yeah, it is actually down. Let's see what I can do here. No, the thing is, we have, we have this search-based backend, that does a lot of sophisticated things, but not simple things like here.
Do you want to just talk through the process then?
Okay, no, it's back up. Okay, so let's try this again. So by the way, these are, just a little sidebar. So we have a bunch of travel writers on our system right now who will answer your questions if you ask them, and that is because your social network is not with you on TripAha today. So in other words, our fallback is not anonymous advice that you get from TripAdvisor or any other site. Our fallback is still a high quality advice. And the other thing that we care deeply about is the length of the content and digestibility of content. So if you notice these travel tips, they're not your 500 word artsy fartsy literature oriented travel blogs, which can give you cognitive ache as you paginate your way. I mean, your kids are running around. You want to be able to quickly plan your trip. You want to be able to scan a piece of content and quickly decide. And this is what we think these little nuggets of information will give you. You can quickly decide whether you want to partake in the activity that is mentioned in the tip. So let's go back to asking a question.
Sure, I do have 1 minute.
1 minute? Yeah, I think I'm done. After this. Sort times
You spelled
chart.
Kamku instead of Samku.
That is still not working. So I think asking a question is not working. But basically what you can do is, what happens is when you ask a question, the system automatically routes your question to relevant people on TripAha and your network who are qualified to answer your question. And this is basically, the algorithm is based on how far a person is on your network. So if the best case scenario is that your friend who went to a place recently and did the same things as you want to do. In the worst case scenario, you have, and our worst case is you have an expert who you don't know answers your question. So TripAha is a place where you can sort of ask questions to start with, and eventually you'll be able to share itineraries and browse itineraries from friends and other people in your network and experts and locals.
Let's open up the floor for questions. If you could repeat the questions and then answer them.
So obvious question. So do you aspire to be the Stack Overflow of travel?
No. We're in travel space, and we're using questions as an atom to start with because we believe that question is a very good way to elicit information quality responses out of consumers. So in other words, if you didn't ask me this question, I wouldn't be answering you this question. So if you came back from China, if I didn't ask you what was your itinerary for China, you wouldn't answer that. So this for us is a means to an end. Q&A is a means to an end. Eventually, you'll be able to just answer a question, or or even without a question, you'll be able to share a structured trip. You'll be able to share pictures, and you'll be able to share a tip with pictures and so forth. So question is a way to sort of get you going, get some answers generated. So it's a means to an end.
What's your target market? Like people that just want to do their own trips, or people that want like an itinerary, that like a guided tour, I guess.
So the question is, what's your target market? People who are looking for itineraries or guided tour, or people who want to do their own planning.
Right.
I think our target market is anyone who does not enjoy trip planning and the tools today. Who believes that it takes too long to plan a trip. And I think our initial user base is going to be power travelers. And so once power travelers are in the system, then it will attract other power travelers because they can believe that the quality of the advice is going to be good. So initially it's going to be about power travelers, but eventually the system is going to be a database of itineraries and a database of pictures associated with entities and itineraries. So you will be able to say, hey, give me all 12-day trips to Argentina that start in Buenos Aires, end in Mendoza, taken by my friends around hiking in the last 3 months. And the system will be able to answer those structured queries from the itineraries. Yes, please.
Well, how do you plan to make money?
Yeah, we do want to make money.
He has one.
okay, I can give a long mumbo jumbo on how we want to make money, but frankly, none of that matters. We first want to get users. So there are a couple of business models that we will experiment with. One, so this is an extremely high intent environment. If you are saying that you are planning a trip to Hawaii and you're interested in snorkeling and you've asked a question, that is, you have taken far more effort than just querying Hawaii things to do on Google, which means this is a very high intent environment. And what you can do with that is you can serve extremely relevant local travel ads. So we can go and we can partner with a local snorkeling gear rental provider who can write a recommendation on 5 great snorkeling spots in Honolulu. And by the way, if you need snorkeling gear, here's where you can contact us. And we can take that, recommendation packaged ad and show it against relevant trips. So that's one model. The second model is we are experimenting with travel agents. So travel agents are perceived to be biased and so forth, but they're very good travel planners because they've been historically planning a lot of trips. So if we can create a model where they can give advice and they can compete for business on the basis of the quality of advice, then we can have a cost per lead type of model with them. So in other words, you could say, hey, I'm planning a trip to some sunny place, and they say, well, these are some recommendations. By the way, if you want us to plan your trip, then this is our information. And there are 10 travel agents who are doing the same thing.
One last question.
Okay.
2 questions. One is, what do the points do? That's number one. Number 2 is, how do you ensure the quality of the recommendations? Is there some sort of self-checking, self-monitoring system?
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Can I repeat the question?
so what we have is you can like recommendations. You can give compliment on recommendations. So in other words, system will automatically promote recommendations that are liked by a lot of users who have internally given good quality tips. As you can all be weighted. That's one. And the second, your points. We actually are not sure about points. Points are there. We want to create a reputation-based system, but I don't think we have cracked the nut on how exactly it should be used. So we have a notion of the gold status, the premier elite. We're mimicking the airline status and so forth, but we're not sure if that's going to work with power travelers. So it's something that's in the system. We need to figure out what the best implementation of that would be.
Great. Thank you very much, Sharon.
Thanks very much.